Welcome back, my friends, to another episode of TFT Hyperroll from Mission for Tuition. It's called Mission for Tuition because we are trying to raise money for our son's middle and high school tuition. He has to go to a ridiculously expensive special school, and we use the money from the views on this channel to help pay for it. No donations, no memberships, no extras, just your eyeballs, and hopefully the videos actually help you too. And with that said, let's get started. Now, every once in a while, when you play this crazy game that is TFT Hyperroll, it decides it's going to absolutely scream at you. From the beginning, I want to do this. And then it turns around and says, maybe I wasn't clear enough the first time. Let me absolutely cement it in every way possible. You are going to do a mutant build, whether you like it or not. And the reason I hadn't done a mutant focus build is because there are so many different types of mutant builds and different strategies to them that I didn't want to just have a string of mutant builds. But this particular match, yeah, I'm gonna show how this one worked out. So the mutant buff in this particular match is Voracious Appetite, and normally the goal with this type of buff is not necessarily to have a really strong front line, but instead to have a really powerful back line and a front line that will go down, empowering the back line to really take over the match. But since this particular match started me off with a 2-star Cho, it's kind of going to head me in a different direction because I want to make this creature as strong as possible. And in reality, for this game, it really didn't matter what the mutant augment was going to be, because when it starts you out with a 2-star silver 3-cost champion, you build into it. You just gotta pay attention to the game. Even though at this point you'll see I built into the trait by grabbing a Malzahar and putting him out to give me 3 mutants, I probably would have been better off putting out the Vi to trigger the Bruiser buff, because Cho's going to benefit more from the extra health than the little extra attack damage he's going to get at this stage in the mutant buff. When the shop offers me a Nico's help, I'm going to grab it because my goal is a gold Cho'Gath here. And we will go ahead and hyper drive you through these hyper roll battles because there's really no point. You kind of know how it's going to go, especially with this strong of a Cho this early. And I can usually tell when Gary's at his desk when things like this happen. Yeah, the mutant bruiser that absolutely complements the team, giving Cho the additional buff in terms of bruiser and another mutant that I can put out. So it's time for the second augment, and woohoo! Prismatic. Awesome. I go straight for the loaded die because I know that's what I'm likely going to need to get the gold Cho I really want. And oh yeah, how about a second Mundo with just a 2% chance? I decided to go ahead and switch in the Blitzcrank for the Malzahar because that'll at least give me the protector buff on Kassadin. But it really didn't matter for this fight. This team was really strong with that Gangplank, with a rapid fire cannon and IE, and they were pretty easily able to get through my defenses. During the NPC round, I get another Nico's help. Then it's time to go ahead and start loading up Cho with a Titan's Resolve so that he can get even stronger than he already is. Now this is a spot where this match almost goes really wrong. In my head I'm thinking, okay, you know what, even though I have Voracious Appetite, I'm going to get a gold Cho. So I'm going to just power up this front line, turn it into mutants, bruisers, and protectors, and that hopefully will be strong enough to overcome whatever I need to. Once Cho is gold, if I can sneak another Titan's Resolve onto him, it will be incredibly strong. The problem is that does not play very well into the buff, and it's going to make the team weaker towards the end game, and it's even struggling now against this little old Yordle team. And of course, as in most lobbies, you're gonna run into multiple Yordle teams. The one thing I'm doing right at this point is that I'm not rolling, because I have those 3 loaded dies, and I want to increase my chances to the maximum of getting 3 costs so I can roll off of Cho and hopefully get him up to gold. That's really the only thing that's going to save this build right now. Now normally I don't like showing an entire NPC round in matches like this, but sort of everything that goes down here is kind of important. The first thing is my goal is to get up to the 5 mutants, and then it's time to try to get to the gold Cho. Now I have my loaded dies and I have my Nico's help, and I have to decide what order I really want to use them in. At this moment I could use both Nico's helps to bring Cho up to gold, but I think it's better to use the loaded die and try to save the Nico's helps for later when I might need to use them to maybe make a Kaisa into 2 stars or something else. Finally, at the end of this NPC round, I get my 3rd augment, and I could go for healing, but I could also get the Mutant Heart, and the Mutant Heart will give me the additional Kog'Maw to take him up to 2 stars, and then allow me to take Kassadin out of the game, add in a Socialite, and I had tested earlier and found out that the Socialite Hex was in the back, throw Kog'Maw on, give him the Rage Blade, and start turning him into the ultimate carry. So my front line will ultimately go down while my back line gets stronger. And that will finally be playing into the mutant buff for this match. And you will very quickly see how well this all works. As champions go down, Kog'Maw is getting stronger. The Rage Blade is speeding up his attack, and whenever he hits something, it's doing tons of damage. Of course, it doesn't hurt to have a giant gold Cho chomping things up. So I've started picking up Seraphines and Twin Shots. My goal is going to be to get rid of the Blitzcrank, who's really not serving much purpose except to add a little CC into the front line, get in an additional Socialite to make Kog'Maw even stronger, and an additional Twin Shot for the exact same reason. The NPC round was quite fruitful, giving me a Bloodthirster, a Magnetic Remover, and then the chance for a Giant Slayer. This is going to make Kog'Maw incredibly strong, but also I have that Magnetic Remover so that I can get those items off him if I want. For the final stack on Cho, it's going to be a Banshee's Claw protecting the rest of the front line from whatever first spell is cast on them. Now that I've finally got my head screwed on straight in terms of the way this mutant buff is going to work best, you'll see it's working out pretty well. I've got Kog'Maw empowered with 2 Socialites. As the front line goes down, he becomes more powerful. With that additional Twin Shot, it makes him almost unstoppable. And I was careful to say almost because this build is Kog'Maw reliant, and if he goes down, the entire team goes down, and while Cho can stay up for a long time, he simply does not have the power or tankiness to stand in forever against a strong team of Academy. But even though it was a loss, it was enough to get us into the top 4. But it's a top 4 I'm really concerned with right now. So the game is now essentially on the line, and I've backed into the top 4. I get the chance for a Sniper Emblem, which is going to be really strong on whatever Twin Shot I put it on. I choose Urgot because he's the one at 2 stars who I know is going to be strong. I've picked up a second Kaisa and saved that Nico's help from earlier so I can instantly have a 2-star Kaisa. But we're not done. It's time to switch everything over. Kaisa goes into the Socialite Hex. Give her the damage items, because remember, Kaisa is going to be able to get herself out of trouble if she starts going down, which means she's likely to be the last mutant standing and will get all of the power from the mutant buff. And as you can see, when she ults and when she moves, she's going to do a ton of damage. Cho just needs to hold them off long enough for Kaisa to ultimately take control. It looks really risky for a moment, but Kaisa ultimately finishes them off, leading the damage charts. So I had brought in Orianna for the Enchanter buff. However, the moment I see a Yuumi, I know I want this on my team. I originally replaced Orianna, but then realized ultimately this Jinx is not really doing anything for me. She's just a 3rd Twin Shot, so it's not really helping. It'd be much better to get the Yuumi in there on the Urgot, be able to stun the entire opposing team, and keep Orianna in there for the enchanter buff. You always want to maximize your buffs whenever possible. This is the sudden death match. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to scout because I was planning everything out, and Blitz ended up pulling my Urgot and taking him completely off the board. But remember, each time someone goes down, Kai'Sa is powering up. Cho just has to hold them in. Kai'Sa will finish the entire team off and win the match with over 15,000 damage. It wasn't pretty, and I strayed from the initial mutant buff, which I should have paid attention to, but we got there anyway. Hope you enjoyed the video and have an absolutely awesome day.